Hour, it's time for the College Football Fix, driven by Ford and your local Mississippi Ford dealers. Log on to buyfordnow.com and find out why the best-selling trucks are built Ford tough. Drive the 2021 Ford F-150 at your local Mississippi Ford dealer today. Do it today. All right, time to visit with our buddy Cole Cubelic from Jackson, Birmingham, ESPN, the SEC Network, college football analyst extraordinaire. Cole, what's up, my man?
Hey, Richard, how you doing, man?
Great. Good to visit with you. I don't want this to be too open-ended or draw out too long because I've got some specific things I want to ask you. But based on 2 weeks, is there anything that you've seen that stands out for you among the 14 SEC teams?
I can give you a lot of things. Texas A&M's offensive line play is concerning. Looks like there's a little bit of growth with Bo Nix at quarterback. He may have a better understanding of actually how to play the position and not play it like a linebacker. The Ole Miss defense has a pulse. I actually witnessed them win a one-on-one pass rush situation and affect the pocket. I actually witnessed an individual in space in the open field get another individual who was carrying a football to the ground by himself. That actually happened. It's a real thing. Let's see, what else have we got? Florida's got a quarterback controversy on their hands. Alabama is a little bit ahead of everybody else, a lot ahead of a lot of other else. I think Georgia's defense is a real deal. I think they have enough offensively to potentially win a national championship. I think Kentucky's really good. They finally have some balance on offense and a guy who can legitimately push the ball down the field. Love their new scheme. I think Auburn's defense is underrated right now. I think they have a lot of athletes on that side of the ball. If they get good production in the middle of that defense, I think they got a chance to be one of the better groups in the league. LSU has offensive line concerns. They can't protect the quarterback, can't run the football. There's a few things in the SEC, Richard, that you never expect to say. Like you never expect to say Alabama doesn't have any linebackers. You never really expect to say that Auburn doesn't have any defensive linemen. And you never expect to say that LSU doesn't have a running back. And LSU does not have a dynamic running back right now. Like you never expect to hear Florida doesn't have wide receivers. And so that's just one of those given every year that's going to happen. And they're not very dynamic at that position, and I think it's going to hold them back. So I'm a little concerned about Missouri's offensive line and their defense. Really put up a good fight in a game where they should have been put away 2 or 3 times Saturday night, but they sort of battled. I think Mississippi State's defense is not going to have much of a drop-off from last year, even after losing arguably their 3 best players. So I think Arkansas is one of the better coached teams in the league. I don't think they can go win games throwing the football, but they're going to make you work for everything you get defensively. They got some good skill, and they have guys who understand everything that they're supposed to do schematically on defense, tough offensive line that understands how to play together and get things done. Not a bunch of NFL guys, but very well coached, very well coordinated on both sides of the ball. And, hey, Vanderbilt won a game. So that was also one thing that I noticed that was huge through 2 weeks in the SEC.
All right, I think that covers all 14 teams. Good to visit with you, Cole. We'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate it, guys.
Hey, let's not cut you loose quite yet. You spent some time this summer with Memphis and with Ryan Silverfield. I believe that's Mississippi State's opponent this week. Memphis off to a 2-0 start. They've got wins against Nicholls and Arkansas State. Mississippi State struggled against Louisiana Tech. They really were pretty impressive against NC State. When you look at that game this weekend, it's only a 3-point line. Mississippi State favored as the road team. Does Mississippi State have reason to be concerned, or is this line way off?
I don't think it's way off just because this is a team that physically will be able to match up. And, they've been building this thing like that since Fuente was there. They understand how to perform at the line of scrimmage. They're going to give you headaches at the line of scrimmage. This is a team that's going to go heavy stretch play. Then they'll come hit you with a counter. They're going to go play action. They'll get their shots in. I mean, Brady White's gone at quarterback, but just go look at the numbers the last few years. I mean, he was exceptional. Yeah. So you're going to have that production down the field in this system, in this scheme. So, I think, too, just playing on the road, it's always a little bit tricky. But I'll tell you what, I think if Mississippi State gets this game, now I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you it's a program-changing win or one that they should hang their hats on for the rest of the year, but we really should credit them for that 3-0 because that's going to be one of the tougher 3-0s really in the nation. And I know there's not a signature win, like there's not what Oregon has against Ohio State. There's not what Georgia has against Clemson or even Bama against Miami. I get that. I understand that. But those are 3 games that you normally can't sleepwalk through. One of them, they turn it over 6 times in a game, fumble 5 times. I don't know if I've seen a team lose 5 fumbles before, literally ever. So to be able to lose 5 fumbles and throw a pick and win the game, I mean, that shows a lot about your team, that you know how to find ways to win, that you can battle back. But I just think those are 3 pretty good non-conference opponents that are going to give them some confidence to be able to move into a really tough stretch. I mean, you look what's coming next. Yeah. Is it Alabama, LSU, A&M? I know it's Alabama, LSU. I can't remember who the third team is next on their schedule. So they're going to need that confidence moving in. But there won't be a lot of people that do it. But Mike Leach's group should get a lot of credit for that 3-0 should they get there.
Yeah, you had it right. It's LSU at A&M, then an open date before hosting Alabama for their next 3 after this Memphis game. One more Mississippi State question. Against Louisiana Tech, for most of the game, the offensive line was not very good. They were a little bit better in the fourth quarter. Thought they made big strides against NC State and did a better job protecting. Do you believe in this offensive line, or are you still worried about them not being able to handle a 3-man rush with great big old splits?
Well, I tell you, poor 97 for Louisiana Tech. That kid. I mean, they treated him like the redheaded stepchild of college football. And he actually got home late and got a sack, which you give the kid credit for battling and staying in it and continuing to play with a lot of intensity. But, I mean, it was kind of fun to watch as a former offensive lineman. But you're right, there were breakdowns. I'm not confident in them as a group yet, but I am confident in their ability. I know they can do it. I know the guys have it in them. It's just – when you're going to create that much space between all of your defenders on a regular basis, you have to have a very good understanding of what's going to happen. Anticipation becomes more important for that offensive line than any other offensive line that you're going to see in the SEC, because they're allowing defensive players the space and the width and the time to be able to do things that most other groups are not. Your help's going to be that much further away. Your help's going to be distracted at times. And you're going to have guys that, because you're so far away from one another, you're going to get trigger blitzes, delay blitzes, green dogs, where you're going to commit to something else, and then somebody's going to show up late where you were, and that's still a part of your responsibility. So it's really just an understanding and a feel of how it's going to happen based on how they're lined up and based on how defenses are going to line up in front of them. And that just takes time. It's just an understanding. I don't question any of their ability or any of their effort. It's just they're going to be put in tough spots. And go back to something that Coach Saban says a lot of times. I've heard him say this 15, 20 times since he's been in Alabama. Not every pressure, not every sack's on the offensive line. And that includes if you're in an empty set. So if you got 5 offensive linemen and a quarterback and nobody else back there, nobody else around them, that doesn't always mean it's on the offensive line, because there are a couple overloads in that Louisiana Tech game where that ball needed to get out, and it was not on that group. But I have confidence that they're going to be able to find it, but they're not there just yet.
Only got about 30 seconds left. Give me a thought on Auburn and Penn State in Happy Valley this week.
I actually think that I think this game's pretty close from a matchup perspective. You look at the talent top to bottom, I think the rosters are close, but I do think Auburn's a more talented team. I think they're better at running back. I think they're better at defensive line. I think they're better at linebacker, better in the secondary. I think Penn State's probably a smidge better on the offensive line. I think they're better at receiver. Quarterback, probably a toss-up, especially with the way Nix has been playing this year. So I think Auburn's going to be able to run the ball. It's going to be a heavy dose of Tank Bigsby with the stretch play that now is sort of the basis of this offense. He's going to be able to get going, should open up some play action. We'll utilize some quarterback run, try to get Nix going with his legs. But this game's going to come down to the quarterback that manages things the best. That might sound cliche, old school, whatever, but I think Penn State's defense has guys that are going to cause problems. Auburn's defense has guys that are going to cause problems. Auburn is much more dynamic at tailback. I think the best player in the game is going to be number 4 in an Auburn uniform. That's not to say that Dotson can't grab a few catches and make some things happen, but
Yeah.
the quarterback who goes out there and manages things best is going to win. And that doesn't mean Will Rogers numbers. They don't have to go 48 to 52 for 480 and 6 touchdowns, but go out there and go 17 to 22, 17 to 21. Don't throw a pick.